Greetings, members one and all of the Salivation Nation. My gold price predictions for 2021. Let's explore. This video is late in its arrival as we are already into April of this year, 2021. You may remember my video that I gave the silver price predictions for 2021. And this actually may be the first year that I've actually created videos outlining my thoughts about where the price of the metals are going to be for a particular year. Now, I did talk about and predict prices in previous years, but never really made videos talking about it, mainly because I don't take my predictions too seriously, and you shouldn't either. But I do think it's a good exercise to kind of get an idea of what the thoughts are of myself and others in the community, because you will have a chance to chime in the comment section below about where you think the price is going to go and why you might think I'm wrong or right in a certain circumstance. But again, this is just mainly for fun, but you know, there's a lot of factors that could come into play for the price of gold and silver, and that's something that I think we have to take into account when considering what is going on in the world, all these different factors that come into play that may or may not move the price of any particular metal, in this case gold and silver. Now, gold is one of those metals that's probably a little easier to predict because it does not move as radically as silver does. It's not as volatile. It serves to sort of stabilize its moves up and down, but it has shown great strength in the previous year. I certainly did not think we were going to see over $2,000 gold last year, but we did. In fact, it broke nominal dollars at a record high last year. And so it'll be very interesting to see what happens this year as the prices moved back fairly dramatically. And as of the recording of this video, and parts of me didn't think we would get this low, even though I had been talking about how the price may be somewhat subdued, at least through the beginning part of 2021. So far, that talk and that prediction by some analysts have proved to be true. Some people feel like we may trade sideways through the end of the year. That's possible as well. I don't rule anything out, which makes this prediction that I'm about to give you for gold, which is a number that I had held in my head since the beginning of the year, and I'm going to stick to it. But right now, it's considered a bold prediction. And that is that I feel that gold is going to reach the $2,000 level. It will touch on it, I think, sometime this year. And it may pull back, but I believe that we will see $2,000 gold, even just for a brief moment of time this year, as we did last year. But you know, it just depends on what's going to be happening. And in many ways, especially if history is evident that we've seen in the past, if things do go south with the economy, with the stock market, we very well may see gold drop dramatically, or at the very least stay where it is and not make much movement. We'll see what happens, but I'm going to go ahead and go out on a limb and stick with my original thought of the beginning of the year that we may see $2,000 gold this year. A relatively bullish prediction, I feel, for gold heading into 2021, but that's just what I'm thinking, that there could be a myriad of different factors because of all the different things, including the bond yield, the dollar index. You know, the dollar index is something we should follow carefully because that is one of the biggest drivers of gold price and silver price as well. But with quantitative easing and where things are at with the faith in the dollar compared to other asset classes out there, such as land, even cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, and the Great Reset, and this talk about a new dollar. That very well may come to fruition, and the very fact that they're talking about it, I feel, leaves credence to the fact that many people probably are not as they don't feel that the dollar is something they can have quite the faith in it that they had at one time, even compared to the other breadbasket of currencies that the IMF tracks. And so we saw $2,000 gold last year, and I very well could see a situation where that could happen again this year, maybe for somewhat different reasons, but we'll see how it plays out. It's fascinating to see what drives the price of gold and silver, and I believe a lot of it is based off of the psychology of the marketplace. And we are in unprecedented times, I believe, in terms of our monetary system, in terms of the big black swan event which is known as the coronavirus that we're still dealing with now, or at least the perception of how everything is reacting to it. And for many of us here and that are aware of sound money, which is what gold and silver are, I believe that the great demand that we're seeing for gold and silver right now is going to be driver of the price. And I think that is because unless people are having that faith in the dollar, that debt instrument that continues to plague us, not because of what it is in and of itself, but because of what this agency, the Federal Reserve, does to devalue it with their policies of the tool chest that they have in order to take this and devalue it, so that these little numbers, these little serial numbers that you see on these notes, think about that. These little serial numbers, think of them as unique identifiers for each of these bills. Look how many of these things are printed from each Federal Reserve Bank that has those numbers beside them, and that gives you an idea. And they can just digitize these and print these as if they were, paper. But really, they're not paper. It's a cotton-based fiber, but I digress. And so therefore, with that being said, I believe that is going to be a driver of the price. And that's why I think that we could test those waters again, and sooner rather than later. We did see periods of time where gold had reached a very high price in the past, and that was it. It never got back there again for years and years and years. But I do think that, in a sense, this is a little bit of a different situation. Not saying that gold is going to get to $2,000 and stay there, but I believe it could touch on it for a brief amount of time because of the volatility of the situation that we find ourselves economically, and even globally economically as well, with what's going on and the many changes, and very much it's not a secure economic environment we are living in these days. We don't know what this administration is going to do in this country in terms of the damage, the perceived damage, and depending on what ideological spectrum you're looking at. But no matter what ideological spectrum you lie, you know that it's going to involve much more government expenditures and mandates and programs that some feel may be better for the economy. I think it's going to actually hurt the economy and create a lot of mandates and a lot of money spent for goods and services and that are going to be maybe ill-received by the public. But also, it will create a great demand for, silver, maybe, and I think by association gold for a different reason than silver's price. Because in other words, we could see the price of silver go up, and even if it goes up based off of my silver price predictions for 2021, which I touched on for some of these reasons, I believe that it would be one of those cases where gold would actually follow silver if they are driven up to the prices that I think they could go to in 2021. And that's why I still stand by my silver predictions for 2021. And by association, I think we could see gold go and test the $2,000 level. Those waters waiting around in that price point for a while. We'll see what happens, but it's interesting indeed. And as is always the case, and I've said this even when I don't make videos about it, but when I'm asked about it, is I am just prognosticating. I'm guessing. I'm not a scientist. I'm not an economist. I'm not a financial advisor. These are just my gut feelings on where gold is going to be. Now, I don't know about you and your gut, but if I had a lot to eat yesterday and it's a little bit bloviated right now, so don't trust my gut. I could be dead wrong. I've been wrong in the past. I have no problem being wrong. But it's interesting and it's fun to talk about, and it's fun to kind of see where the prices are going to go. But I believe that we could see gold get to that level again. And I want to say one other thing about regarding bias. As most of you are aware, since about 2017, I have been accumulating more gold than silver in terms of the dollar amount spent on gold. So I am somewhat biased towards gold, but that is not what is swaying my opinion of the price of gold for this year. In other words, I'm not just being overly bullish because I think it's great, and I've bought it at a particular level, and meaning that if it goes up, it's going to justify my purchases. I don't want you to think that, because my actual hope is that the price of gold will go down so that I can buy some more. It's a very completely selfish reason. And I almost feel bad saying that, because there are those of you out there who are reaching the age or of maturity where you want to cash out your gold, and either as a retirement or what have you, or you need to sell it. And so I would want you to get the most that you can out of your gold when you go to sell it. But for me, in the accumulation phase, I want to see it go. I want to see it cheaper. And so that is my motivation. So I'm acting against my bias by predicting that it's going to go up. But again, I don't hold myself. I don't take my predictions all that seriously. These are just my thoughts. It's fun to kind of speculate, but that's all it is. I mean, I do feel like I have somewhat of an educated guess as to why when I do make these guesstimates. But that is all it is, and we can be given the complexity of the markets. One can make a case for $1,500 gold, just as one could make the case for $2,200 gold. So it could go either way. It really can. No one really knows, but that's where my head is at, and where I'm thinking the price of gold is going to go through the end of the year. We'll find out. So there you have it. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Would like to extend a multitude of gratitude to you all for taking the time to watch. Post where you think gold is going to climb up to this year, or where it's going to fall to this year. I'd be very curious to know. A multitude of gratitude, and encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe.